It turns out they were all lying to you. The greasy cable show hosts, the self-righteous Obama administration hacks, the corrupt FBI leadership. There was no spying on the Trump campaign. That's what they told us again and again for over a year. That's what they're still telling us, even as they simultaneously admit that's what actually happened. That's what they did. That's how dumb they think you are, by the way. That's how much contempt they have for you. They don't even bother to make rational arguments anymore. They just bark louder and assume you will believe it. Today, disgraced bureaucrat Jim Comey claimed the FBI didn't really spy on the Trump campaign. He said they used, quote, confidential human sources, which, by the way, is what the FBI calls spies. As Comey put it, facts matter. Hilarious. But then Comey turned serious, or as serious as a buffoon can. Spying on the Trump campaign, he said, was, quote, tightly regulated and essential to protecting the country. Comey went on to point out that asking any questions about any of this will, quote, do lasting damage to America. In other words, hey, serfs, shut up and obey. My understanding is that we know that the Obama FBI had an informant attached who was speaking to people on the Trump campaign and reporting back to the Obama DOJ. Do we know that?
We do know that. We do know that from the reporting. We also know it from the testimony last year of Glenn Simpson. He was the guy who founded Fusion GPS and who hired Christopher Steele, who actually was a former spy, to make the Trump dossier, in his testimony to the Senate.
To the specifics. This spying, this use of confidential human sources, is tightly regulated. Did a judge sign off on this?
No, the judge did not sign on it, and a judge usually doesn't sign off on it. But what happened was this was not the traditional use of a source. This was the spying on the campaign of the opposing party of the incumbent president, who at the time was Barack Obama. What you're hearing from Clapper and Comey is gaslighting. This is Charles Boyer talking to Ingrid Bergman, trying to make her think all the things that she sees in front of her are not real. They are lying in a most unbelievably brazen and insidious way. If they were not spying on the Trump campaign, why didn't they just tell the Trump people, the Russians are coming after you, be careful? Because that's not what they were doing. They were spying on the Trump campaign, trying to frame people, set them up. That's what use of Mr. Halper, Mr. Stephen Halper, was to plant evidence so it would blow back so they could use it in FISA warrants. Comey and Clapper and Brennan are a group of psychotics who they can't stop lying.
I asked a member of this House Intel Committee, Eric Swalwell of California, the other night, who signed off on this? And he suggested that a judge knew about and approved this spying on the campaign. You're saying that's not true?
No. Well, the FISA surveillance was signed off by a judge, but not this intrusion into the campaign.
Why is this not a big deal in the eyes of liberals?
Because liberals are no longer liberals. They're progressives. They have given up on liberal ideas. They are now into the Woodrow Wilson format, where everybody is an enemy who isn't on your side. They hate Trump so much that they were willing to besmirch the Constitution to achieve a goal, which was his ultimate defeat at the ballot box, and if that didn't work, to have him removed from office.
I feel like I'm going crazy here, because I'm reading these stories day after day that are denying what they're reporting.
Right.
So here's one just pulled out of a hat. Some guy called Justin Miller at Daily Beast just put this piece up. He refers to it, I'm quoting, the false claim that the FBI spied on the Trump campaign.
An informant is a spy. A confidential informant who weasels into any organization for good or ill is a spy. That is the classic definition of a spy. Indeed, James Clapper, while fumbling through his television appearances, has actually conceded that it was spying. But in his word, it was good spying.
So how could the President of the United States, who oversaw the FBI at the time, Barack Obama, not have known about that?
He did know about it, because you remember that memorandum that Susan Rice wrote on Inauguration Day?
Yes.
Memorializing the meeting on January 5th.
Right.
On January 5th, the President, Biden, Yates, Rice, they were discussing exactly what we are finding out now. And they were trying to figure out a way to explain it, because they knew since Hillary didn't win, now it was going to come out, and they needed a story. Obama knew all about this, and the notion that he didn't is ludicrous.
one administration suspicious of its political opponents would use our most powerful law enforcement agency to gather information on them. Do we really want that to be the precedent?
We do not, and what's tragic about it is in the course of doing that, they have destroyed the FBI. It will take a generation for the FBI to return to the respect of the American people that it deserves. James Comey, who says he loves the FBI, has actually slit its throat.
We're coming to you this Thursday, unfortunately, from a very sick city, a place where many of the people in charge aren't just wrong, but increasingly are irrational. Washington is in the grip of unprecedented mass hysteria over Russia. Yes, Russia. Take 3 steps back. It's a freezing poor country on the other side of the globe where the average life expectancy is lower than that in Bangladesh. Russia is a place whose economy is smaller than the economy of Texas. It's a country that can barely produce a working escalator or non-poisonous vodka. And yet that country, which was regarded by sober people as sad and increasingly irrelevant, is, according to Democrats in Washington, in virtually complete control of the workings of the U.S. government. They tell us that every day, and they're starting to seem like they believe it. That's demented. The most striking new example comes from former Director of National Intelligence, Jim Clapper.
Does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
In an interview just yesterday, Clapper claimed that Russia flipped the result of the 2016 election, got Trump elected over Hillary. Asked for evidence of that, Clapper admitted he didn't have any, because of course he doesn't have any. Nobody else has any either. There is no evidence that any foreign country changed a single American vote in 2016. And by the way, that was Clapper's position just 2 years ago, when it was the position of the Obama administration. Now that Trump is in office, of course, Clapper and other Democrats are warning that Russia will try to subvert this year's midterms as well. Now keep in mind that Jim Clapper is not some fringe radio show host or backbencher in Congress. For years, he held one of the top intelligence posts in the country. There are still news outlets as of tonight that are pretending like there was no spying on the Trump campaign. So can you just say definitively, do we know as a factual matter that the Obama FBI spied on the Trump campaign, or don't we?
Well, everyone knows that there was a spy, and in fact, people who were involved in the spying are admitting that there is a spy. They're saying, though, that because the government term is human intelligence informant or something like that, that therefore it's not a spy. Whereas normal Americans understand that when you are gathering information on someone surreptitiously, that's the common definition of spying. And more than that, that's just a stunning revelation that this was happening under the previous administration, that there would be this kind of surveillance, not just at least one human intelligence informant, but also wiretaps, national security letters, which are how you can secretly get a subpoena, and who knows what else is going on. So actually, like, widespread spying involving multiple people in the Trump campaign, and we still don't really know what's going on.
We have asked for documents, 46,000 documents that Justice has told us we're entitled to get. We've received 9,000 over the last 6 months. At that pace, we'll be into the second term of President Trump.
It's not clear to me at all why we don't know this, and that why the committees in the Congress who have oversight over all of this don't know. There was a meeting today, famously, about this, Tom. Do you think members of Congress, again charged with oversight of this stuff, know the answer as of tonight?
No, my understanding is they're still being strung along. This meeting was for show. We want to see the documents.
But why would they be strung along?
Because these agencies have contempt for congressional oversight. You have this extraordinary situation of a Republican-controlled Justice Department and FBI attacking and undermining the congressional oversight activities of a Republican-controlled House and Senate. And they didn't want to turn over the documents, so they said, we'll have a meeting and we'll talk about the secret spy game we had, but it won't be public. We won't tell you what we have in terms of turning over documents, which is still the big fight. You know, Judicial Watch specializes in the Freedom of Information Act because we recognize the government documents really tell you what went on, and government official descriptions of what went on, as we're learning from the Obama gang that's describing this spy as an informant in a dishonest way. We need to see the documents. We need to know how much money was this person paid. Was money transferred as a result of his involvement with the Trump campaign? Who else was he working with? Were there others?
But there's a time limit. There's a timer. Sand is passing through the hourglass here. If Democrats take the House, and take control, majority control of these committees, then how will we find out? They have no interest in getting this information to the public.
And this is why it would be nice if everyone on both sides of the aisle had a common understanding that spying on political opponents is not a good precedent, and it's not good for having Americans having confidence in the FBI.
Have you seen any liberals say that?
I mean, there have been a few, I think very exceedingly few. Mark Penn is someone who was a Clinton advisor who has been making that argument. In addition to the issue that the Department of Justice thinks that they are accountable to no one, not the president under in whose branch they serve, or Congress, which funds them and created them, I think it also must mean that the information is really damaging, really dangerous, that they're willing to subvert any authority in order to keep that a secret. So this is something that I think they can keep this from getting out. I don't think they will actually.
Yeah, and the pretexts they use to hide this information from public view are dishonest. So tonight, Eric Felton, a reporter in Washington, has a piece explaining that one of the many facts redacted by the FBI in documents obtained through FOIA reveals that Andy McCabe spent $70,000 on a piece of office furniture. They held that back on grounds of national security. Does that imperil us, Tom, as a country, now that our enemies know that Andy McCabe spent $70,000 on a piece of office furniture?
I mean, of course it doesn't. And it shows you that the FBI and the Department of Justice can't be trusted to evaluate fairly whether documents should be released or not.
I think the American people need to know that this is the worst possible abuse of power.
Bingo.
At taxpayer expense. And I will say this. I've taken the oath of office 3 times. I've sworn my oath to the Constitution 3 times. And we have any number of people, many high-ranking people in the Obama administration that took the same oath, and they wouldn't know it if it came up and bit them on the butt.